Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live for you on LouTube today. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also, and too. In addition to that as well. So thank you. Thank you. Yep. Another team preview up today. The Ohio State Buckeyes. This has been a popular one. This one's been requested a lot in the comment section on YouTube, on Twitter, Facebook. I've gotten emails to do Ohio State. But the reason I'm doing Ohio State today, this actually comes as a suggestion from one of the Patreon members over on the Uncle Lou Patreon page, Robert T. So Robert T, this one's for you, sir. Again, thank you for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to join up on the Uncle Lou Patreon page, just click the first link in the description of this video or any video that I've uploaded over the last month or so. That'll take you over to the Uncle Lou Patreon page and you can get yourself signed up. Everybody that joins the Patreon page before the season starts can pick any two teams, and I'll make sure I do a preview of those two teams for you. We also give a jersey away over on that Patreon page every month. So the jersey for July I'll be giving away the first week of August. So you got about a week left in July if you want to join up now to get in on the next jersey giveaway. What else? I'm going live today for a commitment. Defensive tackle from here in the state of Georgia, Trayvon Walker, is announcing his commitment tonight around 6 or 6:30. I'll be going live here on LouTube for you, similar to what I did with the Demetrius Robertson announcement a couple of weeks ago. That'll be live today around 6 o'clock, so make sure you tune in, check that out. He's pretty much got it narrowed down, I guess, to South Carolina and the good guys, Georgia. I have a feeling he's going to pick the good guys, and Georgia really needs a defensive tackle, so hopefully things work out. But tune in tonight, 6 o'clock. I'll be live for that announcement. We also have the live show tonight at 10 p.m., the Uncle Lou Live call-in show. We'll do that tonight. It starts up around 10 p.m. If you haven't checked out that show yet, you really should. We have a lot of fun. I take phone calls from viewers for about an hour. We argue about college football and various other things as well. Anyway, enough wasting time. If you're not subscribed to the Uncle Lou channel and you're excited about Ohio State or college football, subscribe to the Uncle Lou channel. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year, during the season and during the off season. Thumbs up this video if you're as excited as I am about college football being about a month away. Anyway, let's get right to it. Today's team preview, the 2018 Ohio State Buckeyes. Let's go! All right, here we go now. We're gonna do this the same way we've done all the other previews, okay? So I'm gonna wrap up 2017 for Ohio State. We'll talk about the team this year, what they lost from last year, what it's gonna look like this year. Then we'll go through the schedule game by game. When I go through the schedule, there'll be a lot of games that I just go by pretty quick. Games that I consider to be guaranteed wins or guaranteed losses, if there are any of those games. Games that are worth talking about, games that could potentially go either way, close games, rivalry games, whatever, I'll put in the toss-up category, and then at the end of the video, I will come back to those and pick a winner and a loser. The goal of these videos, not necessarily to get all 12 games right, although that would be great. Really, the goal is to try to come up with an overall record for these teams. So, in other words, if I go through a team schedule and I have them at 10-2 or whatever, obviously I'm going to have them losing 2 games. I don't really care if those are the 2 games they lose. I'm more or less trying to come up with an overall record for the teams. So let's jump right into it. Now, how did Ohio State do last year? Pretty good. They do pretty good every year under Urban Meyer, right? This guy wins 10, he rolls out of bed and wins 10 games a year. A head-scratching loss last year to Iowa State. I've been over that game ad infinitum. There's no real need to get back into that game now, but that game, not Iowa State, Iowa, sorry. I was thinking of Oklahoma. Yeah, but anyway, Ohio State did go ahead and lose to Iowa, gave up 55 points in that game. I mean, no matter how many different times you watch that game, no matter how many different ways you try to break that game down, you just can't come up with a reasonable explanation for Ohio State losing that game. They were coming off of a big win against Penn State. Was it an emotional letdown? Obviously, but still, you're Ohio State. That was Iowa. You should have won that game. And what in the world is a defense as good and as loaded as Ohio State doing, giving up 55 points to anybody, let alone Iowa? Anyway, that game did go ahead and cost you a shot at the college football playoff last year. You went on to win the Big Ten, defeating an undefeated Wisconsin team in the Big Ten title game, but you did get left out of the playoff when the committee decided to put Alabama in ahead of you. Probably a fair decision, given all the different things involved. And let's just be real. It's not like you it's not like you put on a stellar performance the last time you made the playoff. So not telling you anything you don't know there, but still a pretty good season. A loss to Oklahoma, a loss to Iowa. You win your Big Ten title game. You won your bowl game too, right? So pretty good year, but not what Ohio State wanted. Expectations at Ohio State very, very high. Pretty much college football playoff or bust every single year for Ohio State. They're one of the few teams in America that I think realistically can have that as a goal year in and year out. Obviously, Alabama. You could probably put Clemson in that category. They've made, 3 straight college football playoffs. So those would probably be the 3 teams right there that I would say realistically their fans and their team can expect a college football playoff berth year in and year out, or the season is sort of a disappointment. So anyway, moving forward to 2018, of course, you keep Urban Meyer. Now, of course, this guy's always one loss away, right, from retirement, one loss away from another fake heart condition. This guy's a junk merchant. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but of course you do know that. You bring him back. I mean, he's a top 5 coach, right? I give him a hard time. And listen, the way he left Florida, in shambles, really. Disciplinary issues, the players he was recruiting down there, not necessarily the types of guys you're hoping your daughter grows up to date. Aaron Hernandez, on and on and on. But anyway, in terms of winning football games, which is the primary job of a college football coach, Urban Meyer's done a pretty good job everywhere he's been. So you got him back. As long as you have him, expectations are going to be sky high. They're sky high in 2018. Let's take a look at the roster. Now, Ohio State suffers or benefits, depending on how you look at it. I mean, this is really addition by subtraction here. You lose J.T. Barrett. Now, this guy's been enrolled at Ohio State since Y2K. He's been there forever. I don't understand how this guy got so many years of eligibility. And, you could tell me it was 4 or 5, whatever it was. Ask anybody. It seems like J.T. Barrett has been playing at Ohio State for 15 years. He's gone. In my opinion, that's the best thing to happen to Ohio State in the last 3 or 4 years. I was never a believer in J.T. Barrett. You can type in the comment section all the numbers you want. You can put all the records. You can put his completion percentage. You put whatever you want. I was never a believer in J.T. Barrett. Nothing's going to change my mind. He's gone. He got drafted. Let's see. I got every single draft pick written down here. Let me see where he was drafted. Hold on one second. I've wasted too much time here. Anyway, you get the point. I don't have time to look through all these. I don't have time to look through all these draft picks to find where J.T. Barrett was drafted. But I'm sure the Ohio State fans who are watching can let us know in the comments section which round J.T. Barrett was drafted in. Anyway, you lose him. Like I said, addition by subtraction. You bring in, what's this guy's name? And I wrote some of this stuff down. Dwayne Haskins. Now, this guy's pretty good, in my opinion, probably a higher ceiling than what we saw from J.T. Barrett. Now, he's a little unproven. I know Ohio State fans are going to say, well, he came in the second half of the Michigan game last year and looked really, really good. Yeah, that's great. I need to see a guy do something for more than one half. The human pineapple Tua Tagovailoa looked good in the second half of the Natty game. Alabama fans want to crown him Heisman for the next 3 years straight. He's going 45-0 over the next 3 years, winning 3 national titles and 3 Heismans because he looked good in the second half of one game. I don't buy it. I need to see a guy do it on the road. Need to see him do it at home. Need to see him do it in a rivalry game. I mean, you know what I'm saying. I need to see this guy do something for more than a half. Same thing with Haskins, but this guy's got a lot of talent and a lot of ability. Sort of a little bit of a battle in spring ball for Ohio State between Haskins and that other guy. What was his name? Burrow. Looked like Haskins was going to beat him out, so Burrow went ahead and dipped out. He left, transferred to LSU, most likely be their starting quarterback down there this year. That leaves you with probably what would have been your third string quarterback, as now you're back up to Haskins, Martell. Another talented guy, unproven, not any experience. So that's your QB situation. Overall, I would consider that an upgrade over JT Barrett. Of course, I would consider almost anybody with 2 arms an upgrade over JT Barrett. I like Haskins. You know, has he played a lot? No, but he's got everything that Urban Meyer wants in a quarterback. The guy can run around. He's going to run that zone read offense. Now, he's got to learn the playbook and get comfortable in that system and those sorts of things. But that's what spring ball and summer camp and fall practice are for. I expect this guy to be ready to go week 1, and I think he'll look pretty good throughout the course of the year. He's got a cannon for an arm, so he's not just a guy that can run around. You know, a lot of these quote-unquote dual-threat quarterbacks, in my opinion, are really only single threat. In other words, they can't throw. You know, just because a guy can run around doesn't make him a dual-threat quarterback. Jalen Hurts, for example. Blake Sims. I don't know what Alabama's problem is with these single-threat quarterbacks who can't pass. All they can do is run. This guy, potential to be a true dual threat. I think he can get it done with his legs, and he's also has the potential to be an elite college-level passer as well. So the real deal there, and really the perfect type of quarterback for what Urban Meyer is looking to do. Running backs, elite. J.K. Dobbins, freshman last year, how many yards did he have? 1,400. So second best freshman running back in the Big Ten behind Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin. But when you look at Wisconsin, though, they're pretty much Jonathan Taylor and then everyone else. Ohio State's going to spread the ball around more. So just because Jonathan Taylor had more yards than Dobbins, I agree that doesn't necessarily make him a better running back, although I love Jonathan Taylor. He's on my short list for Heisman candidates this year. But if Ohio State has another good year, and starts out 10-0 going into November undefeated, or even one loss or whatever, you're going to see some Ohio State players pop up on some Heisman lists. Dobbins, Haskins are 2 prime examples there. So, don't get pissed off at me just because I'm high on Jonathan Taylor. So is everyone else. Dude was a freshman last year, had over 2,000 yards. Dobbins, I just mentioned, 1,400. So he's a beast. Now, wide receiver wise, man, you get your top 7 wide receivers back. How happy are they that JT Barrett's finally gone? They're probably the only people that are happier than Ohio State fans that JT Barrett is gone is these 7 wide receivers. Your top 7 wide receivers return from last year. Amazing, and you needed that. With a young quarterback, it's good to have experienced wide receivers. So that's good news if you're an Ohio State fan. Offensive line, loaded. I mean, where are the weaknesses on Ohio State's offense? Not really any. You lose your center. I don't have really any doubt that you'll be able to replace that. You're loaded at the tackle position. You've got experience at the guards. You're going to have a great offensive line. Offense, not really going to be a concern this year. Defense, 2 of the best defensive ends in America, Bosa and Young. I don't know if there's going to be any 2 defensive ends in America that combine for more sacks or tackles for loss than these 2 guys do. They're elite. They're NFL players. It's just a matter of time. Now, your linebacker position is a little bit of a concern. You got this one guy. Did I write his name down? Yeah, Malik Harrison, inside linebacker. He's got some talent, but he's got some issues too. Out of position a lot of the time, misses some tackles. Like I said, talent, he's got it. He's just got to put it together on the field. Can he do it this year? We'll see. But if you're looking for a weakness, I don't know, inside linebacker for Ohio State might be a little bit of a concern. Now, your secondary, and you've had elite secondaries for years now, really going back the last 4 or 5 years, always putting defensive backs into the NFL draft. Last year was no different. You lose your best cover guy, Denzel Ward. I don't think you're going to replace him this year, but like I said, Ohio State's not hurting at the defensive back position. Jordan Fuller he's a safety, right? But this guy's elite, another NFL player. It's just a matter of time. He can do everything. He doesn't really have a weakness. So Ohio State's defense, elite. Ohio State's offense, elite. Head coach, on everyone's top 5 list, right? So no reason to go through the schedule. You'll be 12-0 and make the playoff and maybe even score a point this year. Of course not. It's not that easy. It's not how it works. Let's go through this schedule and see if we can find any losses. I mean, no big surprise. Ohio State will be favored in the majority of these games. Let's talk about your non-conference schedule, because you open up the season with 3 straight non-conference games. Now, kudos for playing 3 straight out-of-conference Power 5, well, okay, 2. Rutgers is in conference, but why are they even a power? Anyway, I'm getting off subject. But you play some okay team. Anyway, Oregon State. Well, let's talk about your first 2 games. Oregon State and Rutgers, both at home. Win-win. What are we doing here? These 2 teams combined for 5 wins last year. Ohio State will beat these 2 teams by as many points as they want to hardly any points at all. Oregon State was a 1-win team last year. Rutgers, I think, won 4. The year before that, they won 2 or 3. I mean, these are 2 of the worst programs in America, and you somehow managed to find a way to get them on your schedule week 1 and week 2. Maybe that's a good thing this year with the quarterback situation, right? Again, I know he played against Michigan. But, you know, he's had from January till these games kick off to go to sleep at night knowing he's the starting quarterback of Ohio State University. There is some pressure that comes along with that. And like I said, I need to see somebody do something for more than 1 half of football. This gives you 2 scrimmage games to get your quarterback comfortable before you head onto the road at week 3 for a pretty big non-con game. But you should beat the brakes off of both of these teams. You'll start out 2-0. Okay, week 3, you go on the road. You play another Big 12 team. Of course, you had a home-and-home at Oklahoma. How'd that work out? Well, you beat them there, right? And then last year, they beat you in the shoe, or whatever you call that stadium you got up there in Columbus. Is it Horseshoe? Did I say Columbus? Yeah, you're the South Carolina of the Big Ten. Anyway, yeah. At TCU. Oh, Georgia beat Oklahoma last year, by the way. Something you failed to do. At home, Georgia traveled 3,000 miles and beat them. You rolled out of bed, walked down the street, and got humiliated by them. But anyway, I digress. It's neither here nor there for the purposes of this video. Week 3 at TCU. I have this as a toss-up. Now, TCU is a pretty good team by Big 12 standards. They're sort of the opposite, though, of a lot of the Big 12 teams. You think of the Big 12, you think of high-flying offenses and non-existent defenses, really. But there are 2 teams in the Big 12 that play legitimate defense, and TCU is one of those 2 teams. Texas, of course, is the other one. You have to play them there, so it'll be Haskins' first start on the road. That's why I have it as a toss-up. Do I think you're a better team than TCU? Absolutely. I'll come back and pick a winner or loser and talk a little bit more about that game at the end. Week 4, home against Tulane. What is a green wave? I don't know. I don't even think Tulane knows. Another thing they don't know, how to beat Ohio State on the road in Columbus. You will roll against whatever the hell a Tulane is. All right, now your schedule and your season really starts. Week 5, on the road in Happy Valley at Penn State. James Franklin. Toss-up. I've got plenty to say about that game, and I will pick a winner or a loser. I'll come back to it at the end. All right, week 6, home game, Indiana. When your second string could beat Indiana. I mean, I'm not going to waste very much time talking about some of these teams coming up now. Indiana, not a good program. Ohio State will roll. Now, listen, don't do what you did last year. You shouldn't lose any of these next 3 games. Don't do what you did last year like you did with Iowa, though. Don't lose to Indiana at home. Don't lose to Minnesota at home. Another guaranteed win. What is a gopher? I don't know. Definitely don't know what a golden gopher is. The best thing about Minnesota ended in the 90s when that TV show Coach went off the air. But then you got to go on the road and play Purdue. Purdue not a pushover. And now this is a potential, I have you for a win at Purdue. I'm not even going to put it in the toss-up category, but I'm telling you now, this could be a trap game. Now, I think you're kind of lucky you have your bye week coming up after that. So it's not like you'll get caught against Purdue looking ahead to anybody. But Purdue, an above-average team in the Big Ten without question. I like their coach. Brom, is that his name? This guy's interviewed at some bigger-name schools recently. If he continues to do what he's doing at Purdue for another year or 2, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets a better job somewhere else. But Purdue is not a pushover, and Purdue is the type of team that is probably going to beat somebody that you don't expect them to beat. Don't let it be you. I don't think it will. I think it comes at a good point on the schedule for you. You get 2 home games against some nobodies before you have to go on the road to play Purdue. Heading into a bye week, I think that game comes at a good time, and I think you get the win there without a problem, okay? Then you get your bye week. rest up whatever injuries you might have. Urban Meyer take a trip to his cardiologist, make sure there's still nothing wrong with him, which there never was. And then you're back at home again against the Fighting Scott Frost. You'll humiliate Nebraska. I've done my Nebraska preview already. If you haven't seen that and you want to, I'll put a link up here somewhere to it. You can click on that and check out the Nebraska video. I do like Scott Frost. I've been saying this all offseason. I think he's a good coach. I think he'll get Nebraska turned around and headed in the right direction. It ain't going to happen this year. It's just not. Nebraska's not a very good team talent-wise, especially when you stack them up against the top 3 or 4 teams in the Big Ten: Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Wisconsin, Michigan State. They just can't compete with those teams right now, in my opinion. Now, can Scott Frost beat one of the top 4 or 5 teams this year? Maybe, although I don't think so. I do think he will get them where they need to be, though. It's going to take a couple of recruiting classes, but it's not happening for Nebraska this year on the road at Ohio State. You guys get the win. All right, now sort of a rivalry game here, right? You got to go on the road at Michigan State. Michigan State, a good team. D'Antonio, a good coach. D'Antonio is one of these coaches that seems to get the absolute most out of the available talent he's able to recruit, right? And there's certain coaches that seem that way. James Franklin, David Shaw at Stanford. I would put D'Antonio in that category. Most people aren't going to consider D'Antonio to be an elite coach. Most people wouldn't have him probably on a top 10 list, although he may be close. He did make a college football playoff a couple of years ago. Of course, just like the suck nuts, he failed to score a single damn point. What is it with the Big Ten? Do you have any idea how hard it is to get shut out in a college football game? Take this Tulane game for, what is a Tulane? You likely won't shut them out because it's hard. A team has to try really, really hard to not score a single point, but the Big Ten managed to do it 2 years in a row in the college football playoff. And of course, that's why they were banned from the postseason last year. Anyway, this is at Michigan State. I have this as a toss-up. This is a dangerous game here, and I'll come back to it at the end, talk some more about it, and pick a winner and a loser. You stay on the road with a trip to Maryland. Listen, if your mascot is a turtle, you're likely not winning very many games. That's definitely the case in Week 11 when Ohio State comes to town. The Terrapins are going to catch a beating here. Ohio State, you should whip Maryland without a problem. And then, of course, you have the last game of the year. We see this game every year, last game of the year. One of the biggest rivalries in all of college. I mean, you talk about huge rivalries or popular rivalries or the rivalries that have been around a long time, right? You're talking about Texas, Oklahoma, Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Ohio State, Michigan. I have this as a toss-up. Michigan is another preview that I've already done, so if you've seen the Michigan preview, you know which way I end up going on this game. But to the Ohio State fans that haven't seen that, I'll come back and talk some more about that and tell you who I have winning that game here in just a second. If you want to check the Michigan preview out now, I'll put a link up here somewhere or at the end of the video or both even. Yeah. All right, so that's a whole lot of guaranteed wins and no guaranteed losses. We did have a few toss-ups. I'll go back through those toss-ups now, talk a little bit more about those games, and pick a winner or a loser, and then we'll try to figure out what this regular season record might look like. First toss-up was on the road at TCU, win for Ohio State. I do think TCU is a good team. They will have this game circled for sure. They play a couple of nobodies heading into this game, same as you. So, you know, injuries shouldn't be an issue going into this game. Players being wore out or tired shouldn't be an issue going into this game. Not being able to get up emotionally shouldn't be a problem going into this game. Having a letdown from the week before shouldn't be an issue based on the teams y'all are playing. So this should be two teams at full strength. Week 3, both have had a couple of weeks to get the cobwebs out. This should be both teams pretty much at full strength and ready to go. My money's on Ohio State in that scenario. TCU's got some issues at the quarterback position and offensive line. Well, I wouldn't say issues at the quarterback position, but they have a new quarterback. Now, Ohio State's got a new quarterback too, but he's more talented and has way more talent around him than the quarterback at TCU. And the offensive line situation at TCU is going to be bad news against Ohio State's front four. I do not think TCU is going to be able to hold up offensively against Ohio State's defensive front. I could see this game maybe being low scoring in the first half. It's at TCU. They'll be pumped up. The defense will come to play. The talent gap is just too big in this game. I have Ohio State winning comfortably in the second half at TCU. You know I'm not a huge fan of the Big 12. And even though Ohio State found a way to get humiliated last year by Oklahoma, you didn't get humiliated by Oklahoma like TCU did, and they got humiliated twice by Oklahoma, and it wasn't close. I think they lost by 60 points combined in 2 games against Oklahoma. The talent gap between an Ohio State and a TCU, too wide. Ohio State gets the win. The next toss-up was on the road at Penn State, a game you lost a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken. I think Penn State gets the win here. I'm sorry, I think Ohio State gets the win. I'm sorry, y'all was about ready to type. I think you beat Penn State. It's on the road. It's in Happy Valley. They lose Saquon Barkley. That's a big loss. I'm not trying to minimize the loss of Saquon Barkley. That's a huge loss there. This guy was a do-it-all back. I mean, catching, running, returning punts and kicks. I mean, he really could do it all. That's not really the issue for Penn State, though. I like the guys that Penn State has at running back behind Saquon. They're no Saquon Barkley, but they've got a pretty good offensive line. The running backs will be okay. And, of course, Trace McSorley's been starting forever at Penn State. He's not going to lose the game for him. He was the leading passer in the Big Ten last year. If Penn State's got a chance in this game, they're going to have to score a lot of points because they lose 9 starters from their defense. That's more of an issue in this game than not having Saquon Barkley, in my opinion. Now, this game is, week 5 or whatever, so the 9 starters that are being replaced will have a month of experience heading into this Penn State game, or Ohio State game, but they will not have seen anything like what they're going to see from the Ohio State Buckeyes, and I don't think the Penn State defense can hold up against the talented offense of Ohio State. I don't see it happening. This could be a close game with it being in Happy Valley at Penn State. It'll be a whiteout. I'm sure it'll be a night game. I'm sure it'll be an ABC game, probably 8 o'clock Eastern. The crowd will be absolutely nuts. But I think Ohio State gets it done and beats Penn State for the second year in a row. Nothing but wins so far. Next toss-up at Michigan State. Loss. Michigan State beats you. Michigan State won, what, 10-3 last year? It's only 1 game worse than you, right? They get 19 starters back. They're a dangerous team. You have to play them there. It's after a home game against Nebraska, and I know Nebraska is not considered an elite team, but I think that Nebraska-Ohio State game will be a big game. A lot of people are looking forward to what Scott Frost is going to do at Nebraska. A lot of people are waiting to see if Scott Frost can knock off one of the big boys in the Big Ten. That will be a big game the week before that. You then have to turn around and head to one of the best 2 or 3 teams in the Big Ten this year, Michigan State, and I think you lose to Michigan State. If you're new to the Uncle Lou channel here, please don't get mad about that. I have a philosophy, sort of, that I go by in college football. Can a team go undefeated and go 12-0? Yes. Is it likely that any particular team in any particular season will go 12-0? No. It's very hard for me to pick a team to go 12-0. I did a preview of my own Georgia Bulldogs a couple of days ago. If you're a college football fan, you know Georgia's pretty loaded this year, and if you've seen their schedule, it's not the hardest schedule in the world. Georgia will be favored to win all 12 of their games. Most of them, they'll be favored to win by double digits. I had Georgia going 11-1, so I even gave Georgia. It's just hard for me to pick a team to go undefeated. You could very easily beat Michigan State and lose to Purdue or Penn State or whatever. You get what I'm saying, Nebraska, although I don't see that happening. So I think you lose to Michigan State. And, of course, I've done the Michigan preview already. I have you beating Michigan. I'm high on Michigan this year. I'm not a Jim Harbaugh fan in particular, but the dude's defense is absolutely elite. If there's a defense in the Big Ten that can compete talent-wise with Ohio State's defense, it's Michigan's. And Michigan maybe have a better defense than Ohio State. They're absolutely loaded on the defensive side of the ball. Last year, they only had 3 starters returning on that defense, and they still dominated most teams they played defensively. This year, they get all those new starters last year are returning this year. So not only are they talented, they've got a season's worth of experience on them. Their defense is absolutely loaded. What's been holding Michigan back has been offense and particularly quarterback play. That's solved this year. Shea Patterson will be the most talented quarterback that Jim Harbaugh has had during his time at Michigan. Now, is he going to come in and light it on the world on fire? We'll see. He was okay at Ole Miss. I liked what he did there. I have a feeling that Michigan's offense is going to be drastically better than what we've seen over the last year or two from Jim Harbaugh's Michigan Wolverines. And I think this Michigan-Ohio State game will be a battle to the end. I think this will be one of the best games of the year in college football. It's possible both teams are 11-0 heading into this game. Of course, I gave you the loss to Michigan State, but let's be real, you'll be favored to beat them probably. It's possible both you are 11-0 or 10-1. 10-1 is probably more likely, but it's possible that this game probably will be basically a playoff game. The winner of this game could win the division. The loser of this game is most likely eliminated from the division, the conference, and playoff contention. A huge game here. I've got Ohio State winning it. I think you guys get it done against Michigan, even though I'm pretty high on Michigan this year. So there it is. I've got Ohio State going 11-1. I'm sure that makes a lot of you mad, but that's just the way I have it. I have them going 11-1. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, subscribe to the Uncle Lou channel if you're not already. Give this video a thumbs up if you're excited about college football season. Don't forget, I'm going live today around 6 p.m. Eastern for the Trayvon Walker commitment. It's pretty much down to South Carolina and Georgia. At least that's what most people are telling me. We'll see which way he goes. He's an in-state kid, so I hope my dogs can pick him up, and we're really hurting recruiting-wise at the defensive tackle position. We've only signed 2 or 3 defensive tackles total over the last 2 or 3 years, and nobody the caliber of a Trayvon Walker. We really need this kid. Hope we get him. I'll go live for that with immediate reaction and commentary following his announcement today around 6 p.m. Eastern. And then tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern, we have the call-in show that we do every Tuesday and Thursday night, Uncle Lou Live. I take phone calls from the viewers, argue and discuss college football, etc., etc. Anyway, I hope to see you on both of those streams. There will be another team preview posted up for you guys tomorrow. And until then, have a great one.